Hi you guys, this is Mrs. Laufenberg and today I'm going to do a demonstration for the egg and avocado sketchbook assignment. So first here we have our collection of tools. You're going to need to use paint. So in your art supply kit you're going to find some sort of set of watercolors and you'll also need your big pink eraser and you'll need a roll of tape. And then you'll want a cup with water in it, of course, some sort of container. And then also in your kit, you're going to find these little strips of paper. Some of them are short, some of them are a little longer. Just want to show you that these are different than the straight edge. The straight edge is a thick piece of mat board. We're not going to use that today. But these little smaller strips, these are pieces of watercolor scrap, and these are called test strips. And we use these to put a little dab of paint on after we've mixed up a color to see what it looks like before we put it on our painting. So we might use those today. And then you're going to need your 2H pencil because we're going to be doing some sketching right here, the 2H. We want to be able to erase it, so use the lighter pencil. And then the brush that I would recommend that you use in your kit is actually the large one. And I know sometimes this can be intimidating to some people, but this is a really nice and really great watercolor brush. So I recommend that you try it. And then lastly, of course, you're going to need a couple pieces of watercolor paper from your set. So that's what we got here. All right, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to tape off the edges of our paper. So I'm going to take my tape. Now some of you have that 1/2-inch tape, so you don't have to fold it back or it'll create a narrower border for you. But we tape the edges so that it contains the water. We can also, this can help us to tape the paper down to the table. And then of course in the end, we end up with, when we remove the tape, we end up with a nice white border, which is very satisfying. Whenever you're done with your watercolor paintings, you want to make sure that you always remove the tape because tape does not add to your painting and it's not really meant to be part of the painting. This is just a technical tool that we use just for setup, not for the finished product. Okay, so that's all set up. Next part is to draw the shape of the egg and the avocado. So we're going to start with the egg. Our goal here is to create a painting that looks like it has a smooth surface. We're going to create an illusion, right? So first we want to start with just the shape of the egg. And so I'm going to divide my paper in half with a really light line. And then on the bottom half, I'm going to draw a large circle that kind of fills up most of the space. But it's okay if it's not perfect. And then we're going to go to the top half and we're going to divide it in half again. And then straight up above that large circle, we're going to draw a smaller circle. I don't know if you guys hear my dog out there. She's doing her job right now. Then we're going to connect the small circle from the top right up here, curving with a curved line, okay, down to the bottom of the big circle. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side to give us a nice robust egg. Okay, you want to make sure that you don't make it like a straight line because then you'll end up with a cone head. And we're after an egg, not a cone. Okay, next we want to take our big pink eraser and we want to erase all the lines that are inside the egg where we're going to be painting. We want to make sure that you always erase your pencil lines that you don't want with watercolor, especially because once you put the watercolor paint over the pencil, it seals it onto your paper and then you can't erase the pencil off. All right, so there we go, we're all set. Okay, so I'm gonna set up my paint that I have here. And I'm gonna grab some water. So the first thing that I like to recommend that you do is that you actually paint oops, let me move this back a little, that you paint the part of the egg where you're going to be putting the color, you paint that with clear water. This is a step that I learned long ago from a class that I took in Portland. And this was a game changer. If there was one thing that I took away from that class, it was this. So what's happening here is that the paper is soaking up the water like a sponge. And so if you've ever had watercolor paintings where it happens where you get kind of splotches, that's because the paper is pulling the water out of the paint, causing the paint to dry really quickly, and then you end up with these kind of splotchy marks. Now my top where I started up here is getting just a little dry. So when I look kind of from this angle or the side, I want to see that the whole egg inside the line, it should just all be shiny. Okay, I don't want to get some really big puddles. And actually, there's a sponge in your kit. I should have gotten that too. You can use the sponge to dab your brush off if you get too much water, or you can help collect some paint with that sponge. Okay, so my surface is ready to go. I'm going to choose to use some blue here. All right, and I'm going to start at the bottom. Well, let's see. First, actually, I want to establish my light source. And my light source is going to be coming from the top. So I'm going to start with the darkest color down here at the bottom edge. I want to load up a little bit more paint, get it kind of darker. You'll see that the watercolor paint here, the edge of the paint is really soft and it's kind of starting to spread into the water. That's exactly what we want to happen. Okay, so let's just keep moving. So now here, to get this like real smooth surface, I want to make sure that I'm dragging my brush with long, continuous, smooth brush strokes. I'm going to bring in a little bit more water here. Kind of brush that into it. Now with watercolor in particular, there's going to be some give and take because watercolor paint has a mind of its own. So we need to allow it to have that mind. Just like we all have our own sort of thoughts about ourselves in the world, watercolor paint does the same thing. Okay, so I'm going to just continue to just get this going from dark to light. And notice too, I'm not just painting straight across, I'm following what we call the contour of the shape that I'm painting. So I'm following along the curve, so I'm painting in a curve as well. I have to tell you guys, I've never done this demonstration with watercolor paint before, but it's kind of fun. I'm not opposed to it. I think I could be adding more paint though. I want to bring my highlight more up to the top of the egg. So let's just keep kind of moving the paint. Let's maybe add just a little bit of water. Okay, that's all right. That looks pretty good. The highlight's not exactly a circle. Let's see if I can push that around. There we go. Okay. All right, so there's our egg. We're gonna just set that aside, let that dry. And then now we're gonna go for the avocado, okay? So again, first we need to draw it. So let's do that again. We're gonna divide the paper in half, approximately, just eyeball it. It doesn't have to be exactly measured out. Draw kind of a big circle here in the bottom half. I'm gonna divide the top in half. Again, straight up from the bottom. I'm gonna then draw a smaller circle in that top quarter. And then I'm going to connect. Okay, so I'm kind of just doing this from my imagination, but if you want to grab an egg or an avocado from your kitchen, you're certainly welcome to. I also included pictures of an egg and an avocado on the slide deck that's attached to Google Classroom. So you can take a look at that too if you'd like that for a guide. Okay, so there's our avocado shape. Again, I want to erase the lines inside, especially with watercolor, because watercolor is very transparent. That's the character of the sort of the quality of the paint. And so we typically don't use watercolor really thick and heavy. That's if you want it to be thick and heavy, then you should use acrylic paint or tempera paint. So watercolor is really meant to be very watery, very transparent. All those erasers off. Okay, so this time I'd like for you to choose a different color, and I'd like for you to use black. And so I think I might, well, we're going to do an avocado, so maybe I should just use green. That'd be kind of fun. And if you want to mix colors, that's okay too. If I take my green on my lid and then I add a little bit of yellow to get kind of an off green or an avocado green, that's kind of fun too. So then I can take my test strip and I can paint my test strip, and I can kind of see what that color is going to look like before I put it onto my painting. All right, now with the avocado, we're going for texture. We want really a bumpy surface. And so what we're going to do here is a different technique. All right, so now what am I doing different? With the egg, I was using those long, continuous brush strokes. And now with this avocado, I'm making choppy, short dabs of paint. Okay, I'm still gonna have my light source coming from the top, kind of like that. I'm gonna mix up some more green with my yellow. It doesn't have to be the exact same color tone, you know. If it's a little different, that's fine too. Okay, so you want to make sure that you allow for some of the paper color to show through. You don't want to fill it in solid, because if you fill it in solid, then it just becomes flat, and then you've lost your texture. So we want to leave a little bit of, you know, unevenness. And I'm going to continue to fill this in. And as I move toward the top of the avocado, I want to mix more water with my color. So with watercolor, to make it lighter, instead of adding white paint, we just add more water. So water becomes your white in watercolor. Something to also think about is usually watercolor dries a little lighter. Okay, got a pretty good starting layer here. Now for this avocado entry, I'd like for you to incorporate black. I want you to see what black does, because black is a very, very strong paint color. So it doesn't take much black to make an impact on your painting. So I'm going to pull up some black. Whoa, look at that. It's so dark. But the thing about black is that it creates contrast. And that contrast is what really makes your artwork pop. It also makes, it allows, or it creates just like drama, like visual drama, so that your viewer, their eye is drawn to look at your work. Okay, I'm gonna add a little bit more. Ooh, that's heavy. That's a lot of black right there. Now notice also with this one, did I put the water layer down? No, I did not. okay? Because we're just using these dabs of colors. It's okay, I don't have to put the water down first when I'm doing real texture-y techniques with paint. Okay, I'm gonna bring in some more color. So I'm mixing up my green and my yellow on my lid here. I wanna bring in some more color. Okay, so you guys kind of get the idea here. Let me add a little bit of water here. Smooth these guys out at the top. Call this good. Maybe bring a little bit more green down here in the bottom. Kind of lost our green tones. Okay, I mean, obviously I could spend more time on it. You guys kind of get the idea. We want to, again, follow along the contour. So my black, my dark kind of shadow color, dark green, is curving. I'm not just going straight across. I'm also trying to be really mindful of the edges and not necessarily make a line, but also not make like a big mess. Let's add a little bit more color. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, like that. Got a little bit of extra water up here at the top. I'm gonna steal that and spread that around. Share the water to some other parts. Okay, again, I've never demonstrated this technique with watercolor before, so this is kind of fun. All right, there's our avocado. And so now I'm gonna let this dry, and then I'll take the tape off and I'll write my reflection questions on the paintings, and then take a picture of it and turn it in. All right, let me know if you guys have any questions. You can email questions or come to the PM session. I'll talk to you later. Bye.